process at this stage. It's going to be a weird thing where I'm kind of figuring out how much I just read the slideshow from the board. I'm probably going to develop a slideshow style as we kind of make the way through tonight. At the moment, I'm just going to read from it so no information is missed. So 5 months ago, a group of artists and thinkers and stuff gathered together to adapt 10 paragraphs from a mathematical treatise into a play. And over the course of its subsequently branching, incident-ridden course of development, it remained a play in name only, but in reality started to change into something quite different, a kind of self-raising DIY mythology of some kind. It was becoming very difficult to tell, and then we came to this break because the residency ended, and everybody's busy, and it was unclear. It became clear to me in the kind of final sessions we were doing that everybody had very different ideas of what it was that we were making, because it was so like DIY and kind of like just whenever we can get people in a room we kind of do it. It meant some people had done like a few hours working on it, some people had done more, some people had done less, some people had worked on one part, some people had worked on the other. So the solution, or the kind of way of dealing with this that we came up with, was I created this kind of 19-page survey, which with the aim of kind of aggregating everybody's kind of inner kind of mental models of what piece of art they were making and what it involved and what elements made it up, and kind of cross-referencing them from there. So now we're at this point where the data has been crunched and we can present it back to you guys, and also try and amongst ourselves figure out what it is that we're doing, and kind of collaboratively kind of have one kind of position or base from which to work out what the next stage of it's going to be. So you're all involved in this now by being in this room. Okay, so we can begin. So this survey that these guys got given, it started off with this big compendium of cultural, social phenomena and trends, and our experts went through this list and they had to put a number between -4 and 4, showing how connected they thought the cultural phenomenon in question was with the work that they thought we were making. Remember, this is always their inner kind of like idea of what it is, based on how much they've experienced it. So -4 means negatively related. That means one kind of can only exist at the expense of the other. Some kind of battle of the death has to take place. And then +4 means the one necessitates the other. It's inevitable that the one will bring our work into existence, the fact that this exists. So, say hello to this, our first panelist, Beth. She's an artist and musician who releases music. I don't know if we're going to do that for everybody. Who releases music under the name of Buffy. Beth, what would your motivational speech be?
I think mine would be Central C, in like amongst a crowd of fans in a top shop, and he just says a few words.
A few words.
Shouts him out, and then his bodyguards have to take him out.
So Beth is going to play a special role in our panel today, the role of the novice. So Beth has not been to any of these kind of like workshops that we've been doing to develop the material for this play, and she has no knowledge about what it is that we're making. So today, as for some of you in the audience, this is going to be her first kind of like exposure to the content of the play, and so you can almost see her as a vessel for the audience to kind of understand. I don't know. So yeah. We're going to try and build up her kind of conception of the work from scratch and trace its development as we go in this process. And this process is going to begin now. So, on average, based on everyone's answers to the first questions, these were the elements of the contemporary cultural phenomena that we judged to be most connected to the work that we're making. Beth, can you see this list?
I can see it, but I can have to do a little bit of dipping.
Do you want to? I'm going to ask you. Does anything surprise you?
The arts and crafts movement surprises me. I don't know what accelerationism is, so that's a surprise as well. Shapes. No, shapes is normal. Shapes is normal.
Okay, and then based on this list of things that we see the workers affiliated with, could you tell us what kind of work what it might be? that it could be affiliated with all these different things. What's the image your brain is starting to build of what it is that we're going to be talking about?
Maybe we're building a website. Maybe easy answer.
Cool, that works.
Maybe we're making a dance.
Making a dance?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. Cool. Now, these are the list of elements of contemporary social phenomena we judge least connected to the work that we're making. Beth, does anything on this list, anything surprise you that we're
Top Gear should be one of the most connected on here.
Could you explain why?
Because...
What zeitgeist are we trying to move?
Well, it's the
Top
zeitgeist
Gear?
being pushed forward strongly by Alex at the moment, but Alex being one of the cultural movers in this programme, I think that indicates that there was some slighting by the rest of the artists to put their wishes down. I feel like hauntology is booming as well. So that's...
Yeah, that was a surprising one.
Yeah.
I was quite into that. I was quite into how we weren't doing hauntology.
And Wallace and Gromit was huge at Christmas. Maybe things moved faster than I could have ever expected.
Is there, I guess, and then that kind of answers the same question, is there anything you're disappointed, or like personally disappointed to see this low down on the list, or is there anything you see the art that you make individually as connected to that's appearing low down on this list?
Maybe indie sleaze.
Cool. Okay. Say hello, Beth. Okay. That's Beth. So now we have Harry. Harry is a musician, graphic designer, and experimental baker. Harry, your motivational speech.
Is it for some reason? It'd be like Sia and Louis Theroux did like a podcast episode together, and I just kind of want like more of that. So it'd be them and me and like my sister would be the audience.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. In what on like?
Like digital like Zoom call maybe. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
So conclusions we're drawing from here is that in general there's quite a lot of reds. So it seems like you see the work that we're making is quite disconnected from mainstream culture, or the elements of it that we've been kind of comparing it with here. Is this because you have a negative view of, well, what do you think of mainstream culture, I suppose? Do you have a negative view of it in general, do you think?
No, I have a very positive view of mainstream culture.
So does that mean a negative view of the work that we're making?
No, just it's like
Yes.
separate.
Can you speak about that separation?
It felt like it diverged from my understanding of mainstream culture. I don't really know. You'd have to be more specific. We have to go more specific.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. We'll dig into the divergence. An area of discrepancy you have from the rest of the group is the stuff to do with animals.
Yeah.
Not a fan. There's no animal rights and no Beatrix Potter. I was wondering why animals.
Yeah.
Why you think what you thought? Why you thought they weren't involved?
Well, I think when I was involved, when I was in the room, I didn't feel very much like an animal, and I didn't feel like any of us were being very animal in those moments. So maybe that's why I thought. But there was no kind of like. Yeah, I just didn't feel like animals would fit in that environment. Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
And there was actually, in one of the sessions, a dog broke in.
Yeah.
Remember that? A dog walked into the room and it felt very, like, separate.
It felt separate from
It
what
felt like it was not meant to be there.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, Huz is a filmmaker and playwright. Have you got a motivational speech for us, Huz?
A revived zombie Orson Welles telling me that I haven't wasted my life working on film, and it's not a dead art form. The audience would be me in a room full of mirrors, so it looks like there's loads of me and lots of Orson Welles.
Awesome, cool. So there are two standout areas where you really went against the group consensus. The first was saying that there was a high connection between the work we're creating and the Gregorian calendar. I was wondering why you saw that association so strongly.
I saw sort of recently how the Gregorian calendar is a scam. It's all about taxes and shit. And I don't know what.
You saw it's highly connected to what we're doing.
Yeah. I feel like we're indulging in some kind of fraudulent art.
Oh,
Which
okay.
is inherently
Cool.
not a bad thing.
Okay.
I don't think so anyway.
Cool. Then you also associated the work with having a tidy bedroom, which many disagreed with. I was wondering why, and then if the rest of the group could confer and launch a counter argument once Huz has put forward your argument.
I don't argue with it.
Why do you think it's associated with having a tidy bedroom?
Well, I was just telling Reece, the cameraman, earlier. I've tidied my bedroom for the first time this year today.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been very prolific, very productive for the past few days. And I feel like maybe because I've had the plan for tidying my bedroom, I've been like excited for life and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, I think. What was the question?
That's connected to the work.
Yeah, exactly. I think a tidy bedroom, it helps. It helps you work.
Anybody care to speak for the anti-tidy bedroom? Go on, Alex.
A tidy bedroom means a tidy mind, and ideas don't come from a tidy mind.
Brilliant. Okay, that's our counter argument. Ideas don't come from a tidy mind.
Messy mind.
Messy mind. Syncretic. Okay, we're now gonna. Yeah, Jim.
Am I supposed to be writing this?
No, no. Should we try and come to a decision quick? Okay. So this process is going to involve you guys. We're going to do some direct democracy every now and then in this process, and you are going to want to write this down because we're going to come to a decision right now. Could you put your hands up if you think, even though I know you guys don't have any idea what we're talking about, do you think whatever we're talking about, or what sentiment you have at the moment is associated with a tidy bedroom? If so, put your hands up.
Thank you.
And I guess the rest, if you don't think it's associated with a tidy bedroom, Jim, note it down. It's a strong. We don't need to do the numbers. Strong. Messy bedroom.
Messy bedroom.
So that's going to be a new. Everybody's going to have to mess up their rooms.
That's
I just tidied it today.
Yeah, well, we're going to have to go home. We'll have to go to Huz's house afterwards and destroy it.
I'll paint my door as well, put a new white door.
Oh, yeah.
White painting.
Now, Tanith is an artist, an inventor, and an educationalist. What is your answer to the prompt, the motivational speech?
Yeah, as I'm a Quaker, I was just going to keep it really simple, and it would just be a chicken speaking to just me.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful. Now, Tanith saw it as the most disconnected from mainstream culture. Shall I ask you the question why as well?
Me.
No.
Oh.
No, it just felt really strong. Most things were either 100% yeah or 100% no. Like, I felt very.
That works. Yeah. Binary.
Yeah.
Cool. Could you? Okay. Then something I wanted to. You saw it was very connected to the '60s, but not very connected to the '90s.
Yeah.
Very unconnected to the '90s.
Yeah.
Could you explain or talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, 90s just completely irrelevant. I think apart from Happy Mondays, yeah, I don't think we need to think about the 90s right now. I think we should be thinking about the 60s.
Yeah. Age of Aquarius just started. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So it's Aquarian art. That might be another thing. And now our final panel member is Alex. Alex is an artist, a musician, and kind of psychological mechanic, Top Gear. So, having not completed the survey, Alex is also going to be playing a special role in this event. And they're going to be playing the role of the model. Now, the model is going to model the act of survey completion for the audience, okay? So it's going to be live survey action that you're going to be seeing every now and then when the time comes. So, we're going to start with this section. If you want to do plus and minus 4, or like if you want to like go through. So first you have the 60s. What do you think? We're going to do it speedy.
Yeah, plus 4.
Plus 4. 90s.
Plus 3.
Chartres Cathedral.
0.
War of the Worlds.
Plus 3.
Short form content.
+4.
Glass blowing.
0.
Opera.
+3.
Animal rights.
-2.
U certification.
+1.
Brian Johnson meditating about 2050.
Is he the Live Forever guy?
Yeah.
+4.
Celebrities.
+4.
Beatrix Potter.
+1.
The Overton window.
What's that?
The political compass.
+2.
Top Gear.
+4.
And can you do your motivational speech answer as well, please?
This panel desperately trying to motivate each other on our way in our imaginary rocket to the black hole.
Wonderful. Okay, so now I'm just going to explain as we get into the kind of meat how the survey worked. So everybody got questions like this. So they got a prompt like this. So it said below is a paired comparison matrix. In the column here, there was a list of about 8 characters or identity positions that existed within this play that we kind of had created, which I'll explain how we did that in a bit. You were asked to fill in each box of the matrix with a scale rating that indicated your perception of the degree to which it was affiliated or disconnected, the +4 to -4 thing. So in this first one, characters were cross-referenced with events or elements that made up the kind of plot of the play. I think we're going to try and do a few of them just so our audience, our participants get a bit of an idea. Could you so you got the Orphans of Water character position, cross-referenced with Oxbow Lakes. Is that on the scale of +or -4? What would you give that, Alex?
+4.
+4. What about Orphans of Water and Pangaea?
+4.
What about Watermills in the Orphans of Water?
+3.
And finally, the Field of K in the Orphans of Water.
+4.
Wonderful. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what these guys were doing for there was quite a long survey. There was a lot of these kind of grids that they had to fill out, and that's the data that we're going to be using for this event. Okay, so. Then, thanks to the computer wizardry of the Process Word software programmer, Ben, who's not here today, the results of each of the 6 people who completed the survey were aggregated and an average score was given for each comparison. So everybody did that individually, and then the average score for the relationship between the Orphans of Water and the Oxbow Lakes came out at 3.2. Okay, and etc. etc. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah? And then a negative, so basically, and then the scale is if it's dark green, very, very connected, and if it is a dark red, very, very disconnected. And in between, you can see the degree to which it's connected. So we also made individual grids. So these grids have everyone's answers individually, not averaged out. So you can see so that element, Tanith thought was very disconnected with the other one, and then etc. etc. Then, really interesting. So that makes sense? That's just everybody's answers, not aggregated. Then this one's really interesting. This one is the degree of deviation that their answer had from the group consensus. So in this case, dark green means they were really bang on. They were almost representative of the hive mind at that point in that box. A red means they were very far off what everybody else thought. Okay, so that's things that I'm going to be using to draw conclusions from. Then we also have the overall standard deviation on each answer. So basically, in this case, dark green means that everybody had a very similar answer to this question, and a red would mean everybody really, really disagreed about this one. Okay? And then obviously in the middle, the scale kind of goes. So that is the degree to which everybody was there was a consensus or not a consensus. Before we get into the main action of the thing, we've got a final word from absent friends who also filled out the survey. So they're just going to talk a little bit. They gave some really interesting answers because I asked what actually do you think is being made as part of this process, and these are the answers they give. Does anybody want to read? Can I get a reader from the audience? Go on, Hannah.
A way of working series of reference points of which we as a group draw from up to points, or can in the future become recognised for in terms of motifs, working processes, thermal
themes.
Guide, linguistic terms of phrase and settings. I think it is a world and community building in a
way
through a shared language and motifs and referencing points. It is both the way of understanding the art we create and the process of creating, not in isolation, but in connection to
the other
within our ecosystem.
Great. So there seemed like there was this consensus that it didn't have any actual outcomes, but was more just a kind of a language or a way of kind of relating. So that was an interesting thing. Then Chris gave all these amazing reference points for like what outcomes could be that would work. School library vans was, I think, a cool one. Is that we make those. Then this crazy situationist city where. It was called New Babylon, where everybody went when they were bored of their jobs would go and hang out and like play around on like the climbing frames up in the fun city and things like that. Shadow libraries, fake documentaries, all kinds of cool stuff. Then there was a slight word before we go into the fun slideshow action. We got a slight word of warning from Martin. She said. So when asked what she thought the work was, her reply was that I like the idea of using this work to incubate future work by participants as a source of ideas to look back to. I found the concept of us all making a final piece incorporating a large sum of our ideas quite hard to envision on a practical organisational level, but also because I felt a lot of ideas would make more sense to us as the group of people who would be making it than they would to an external audience, because they're all very specific. Perhaps most of us are all making the groundwork for a project, a scene, an assemblage, not necessarily unified on a specific theme, but in discourse with each other in a lot of directions at once, knowingly and unknowingly. Maybe themes emerge throughout this, but without the need for a manifesto approach. If I were to pick an output, I'd think an exhibition would work better than a singular performance-style piece, which tends to require more unity than I felt was produced in our sessions. So today's session, which we're about to properly get into, is in some sense an attempt to challenge this view of the work being created as being too hermetic and too obscure and too disorganized to ever reach an outcome. Because the idea is that we're all going to know about it and it is going to be shareable and we are going to be able to talk about it like it actually exists by the end of today, by kind of opening it up and kind of all doing this together. It truly is an experiment in trying to consciously and collaboratively kind of bring into existence a shared language of symbols and references from out of nothing, just by kind of talking about them as if they do exist. And like all experiments, there's a chance of failure tonight, where everybody's just like, what are we talking about? Like this is really like insular, this is what we're trying to not happen. So either by the end of the night, everyone in this room will feel like they've taken the first steps towards fluency in a language which doesn't exist yet. Which they will also be the ones responsible for speaking at the same time as actively co-creating, or like they've just seen something quite silly, but hopefully at least entertaining. So with that, just a quick introduction to our process. So we started off, basically we took 10 paragraphs of this mathematical treatise, we split it up into identity positions, settings, and actions. Then out of that we create these kind of boards. Then they started to get more and more kind of like involved and different elements got added into them. And then we started to come up with various outcomes, bits of script, art and conversation kind of emerged out of them. So it's basically, they were kind of like drawn out of like a specific reading approach of like reading these kind of like mathematical text. And then they kind of went through this kind of process where they become more and more became symbolic and mythologized and all these things, and like started to kind of like hallucinate meaning onto, or like different meanings onto these original texts. Cool. We're going to begin now. So, the first configuration is about the orphans of water. By the way, I use the word configuration because that's each paragraph then led to a configuration, which is a set of elements and identity positions and locations, which become the basis for a work of art or a play or whatever. So this is from one paragraph, these are all the kind of things that we drew from it. So the first configuration has only one set of characters. Together they're known as the Orphans of Water. There are 4 of these orphans named Willingness, Instinct, Thanks, and Utility. These characters are semi-allegorical. They have personality traits associated with these names. We saw the strongest degree of relatedness between the Orphans of Water on this scale and the Oxbow Lakes was seen as very similar. The Oxbow Lakes are elements that appear in the play at another point. This makes sense because in our idea, these Orphans of Water are Oxbow Lakes, okay? And now here's a little diagram showing the process of a lake becoming orphaned from an Oxbow Lake being formed, which we thought of as like a kind of separation process in which 4 identities are created out of one unity. So these are the Orphans of Water. The remnants or leftovers of a lost coherence. There is another element that also is, so these are the elements that we cross-reference the Orphans of Water with that actually appear, that are part of the first configuration. There's another element in the first configuration that's also associated with the idea of coherence and its loss, and that's Pangaea. But funnily enough, there's Pangaea. But funnily enough, we actually didn't see them as that connected. We saw Orphans of Water was very connected with Oxbow Lakes, but not very connected with Pangaea, and we're going to explore why that is. Even though they both seem to be symbols of disconnection and fracturing, they were seen as different. Pangaea was introduced in one of the workshops by Huz. Could Huz explain to Beth, as representative of the initiates, what Pangaea is and why/how it was introduced?
Pangaea is the supercontinent before we split into 7 continents. And I guess I thought that the Orphans of Water were orphaned from the split of Pangaea, a different kind of evolution that took place both socially and biologically from this split of Pangaea. Yeah.
So did you kind of see the Pangaea splitting as kind of like the same process as the lake splitting apart?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
just the backdrop for everything that takes place. You know?
A kind of like mythic fracturing that sets off this whole universe that we're exploring. Okay, so it seemed like there was a lot of disagreement about whether that is what Pangaea was actually about, whether it was a symbol of separation or of something else. So while the association between Pangaea and the Orphans would seem quite clear in the way that Huz has just shown, it would seem that they're both symbols of separation. Surprisingly, the degree of connection between them was actually the thing that people disagreed on most. Is everybody following? So looking at everyone's individual answers next to each other, it becomes very clear where the source of variance is. And it was in my answers. So for some reason, everybody thought, I think everybody agreed with Huz that they were both symbols of separation, but I didn't. So now we can look. So we also cross-referenced each of the characters in the first, or each of the elements in the first configuration with themes, with possible themes for this work, okay? So, the answer about, so we've got the Orphans of Water here and Pangaea here, and their relationship with the different themes is along the bottom, okay? So, the answer can be found by looking at the panel's opinions on the relationships the Orphans and Pangaea have with the play's themes, in particular, the theme of separation. Do we see what's going on? Okay, so the Orphans of Water was seen as very connected to the theme of separation, as if they were representatives of separation, whereas Pangaea was actually, people had very different ideas. I know this is so people disagreed about whether it was a theme of separation or not. And yet again, everyone agreed that the Orphans are strongly associated with separation. but there was significant disagreement over whether Pangaea was associated with the theme of separation, leading to a weak association score, which can be seen there. It was a low score. That's the reason why, because people disagreed. Yet again, it's the same people with opposing viewpoints. So Tanith was on the hardline end of thinking that Pangaea and the orphans are very connected, 4 out of 4 connection points, but saw them both as being really associated with separation in the way that Huz has just described. Whereas I thought they were opposed, -4. Pangaea and the orphans of water don't go together, which it must be because I saw the orphans as associated with separation, but Pangaea, so orphans associated with separation, but Pangaea as very much not associated with separation, and maybe therefore associated with unity instead. Okay, so we're now going to come to a mini resolution as a group, where we're going to decide whether this symbol in this kind of universe is a symbol of separation, Pangaea, or a symbol of unity. The debate is going to take place between Tanith advocating for the separated Pangaea thesis, and Alex, who's going to stand in for me and advocate for a unified Pangaea. A resolution is going to be reached by Tim in his capacity as the group's decided representative of the Orphans of Water, okay? Because these are the list of people involved, and we associated Tim the most with these Orphans of Water, so he's going to stand in, and he's going to decide on their behalf. And therefore, because, yeah, you're also representative of the whole of this configuration, you get final say. Cool. 1.5 minutes on Pangaea and separation.
Yeah. Well, I just think when we were all on one big clump together, all the humans and the animals, and the sea wasn't the same because the sea was around everybody. No one was an orphan, everyone was together, there was no escape, we were all trapped in here forever. Yeah, there was no escape, so you were stuck. It just makes Pangaea is one whole beautiful land with happy people, and there were no orphans, and everyone was healthy and well fed. Yeah.
Great. Alex, could you counter that position and argue, I think we've swapped positions, that it's actually a symbol of separation?
Okay. I mean, I'm preparing to argue it.
Oh yeah,
No, it's
sorry,
fine,
let's do the opposite one.
But, I mean, Pangaea...
Argue that really well.
Pangaea represents the inevitability of separation. All things must fall, all things must return to dust.
Is Pangaea the reference to the supercontinent?
The supercontinent, we're trying to decide whether it is a symbol of separation or a symbol of unity. What would your assessment be?
I mean, what in terms of what geographical influence?
Symbolic, poetical, and geographical.
Okay, so I'd say, I mean, there is no poetry to geology or geography. So, sort of. What I would say is Pangaea existed, now it doesn't exist, and now we exist in the realm that is afterwards.
Separated from it.
So you're saying.
You're doing this great.
I come down for a piss, but yeah. But yeah, no, I can understand what you're saying. Like Pangaea as a concept, as a togetherness, and then we broke apart, and then it was, can we just look at it in the logical sense, right, which is the geographical.
Which side do you want?
When I say Pangaea, do you think unity or do you think separation?
Indifference.
Okay, we are now going to come. So now we've got our master of Pangaea is going to come up with the verdict: separate or unified.
I am going with unified.
We're we've got a unified Pangaea, everyone! Thank you very much. What's your name? Nicholas. Hi Nicholas. Welcome to the session. Okay, cool. On to so that was our verdict from Tim. We have a unified Pangaea. So now, oh yeah, and that also means that we have decided that it's now not aligned with the orphans anymore. Because the orphans, we've decided, are symbols of separation, but Pangaea is a symbol of unity. So those symbols in our artistic world can now clash and be averse to each other. Jim, can you write that? You got that down? Sick. Okay, awesome. Nice one. Okay, so now we have 2 consensus facts. Finally, no debates. We've got through well done, guys. We've got through our first debate. So we have 2 consensus facts about the first configuration. So one is that the orphans are opposed to the field of K. Okay? So these the field of K is not part of this configuration. It's not involved. It comes up later. We're going to be introduced to the field of K. Harry, I was wondering, as you being someone who knows quite a lot about it, why do you think we would have seen it as so against the Orphans of Water?
About the field of K?
Yeah.
Well, in my mind, the field of K is happening thousands and thousands of years separate to the Orphans of Water. It's 2 completely different timelines, and I think the legacy of the Orphans of Water influences things that are happening around the field of K, but yeah, it's not happening in the same time frame to me.
Super.
So separate by time.
Separate by time, but there are other elements that are also separate by time, but they've been judged like symbolically unified. But you say that they're like, yeah.
I don't know about the other things. I can't comment.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Super. So we have. Oh yeah. We got that. Okay. So. Then, our second fact is that both Pangaea and the Orphans are highly associated with the theme of friendship over here. Okay, so this as a configuration, as like a little kind of set piece, is about friendship, separation, unity, how those things can be gained and lost by natural and unnatural processes. Interestingly, the Orphans are highly associated with separation and friendship. But, wait, that's weird, isn't it? Yeah, because they're associated with separation, but they're also associated with friendship, as well as being associated kind of with music and anxiety too. Harry, can you explain how you see this, like how you can be very connected and representative of separation at the same time as you can be very connected and representative of friendship?
Well, I think the thing about the Orphans of Water is that it kind of feels like a tragedy, because, I mean, I remember when we were discussing this initially, it felt like a sad story about what was happening with the Orphans of Water, and I think just from like the point of view of like the context of creation, we were all in that room talking about this and looking at each other and thinking about how we're all kind of orphaned from.
We're all like bends in the Oxbow River that wants trying to find a flow between us that we've lost.
So I think that naturally just lends to thinking about friendship and connection. Does that make sense?
That does. That's brilliant. Yeah. Okay, so now that brings us to the end of this kind of presentation. So hopefully now you guys know about the Orphans of Water and what's going on. Okay, so. So you saw that we had that the bar, so where everybody judged who was the most associated with each part of the play. So now we have 2 representatives of this part of the play. The first one is the expert. So this is, out of all of the people who took the survey, Tanith was the one whose answers were on average closest to the average her answers were closest to the average answers of the group on each question relating to the contents of the first configuration. So far, her contributions to the first configuration have been this 3D. What do you call this? What's the medium?
3D pen. Those horrible 3D drawing pens.
Which I would have loved to bring. We've got a 3D pen drawing of a watermill, which is going to be it's got some kind of part to play in this project. So we have the person who is the most representative of the group's minds on this item, and then we have the person who everybody else decided was the most associated with it. who is Tim. So Tim was out of the people who so far worked on the project, the one who the experts judged to be the most associated with this configuration was Tim. So far, his contributions to the first configuration have been a character sheet on one of the Orphans of Water, on Instinct. So, here are a set of mediums on the board. We're going to think of, could we produce a work in one of these mediums on the subject, on the configuration that we've all just explored together, okay? Now, how it's going to work is the appointee is going to get to choose 3 possible outcomes to remove. So that's going to be Tim. You're going to choose out of these outcomes 3 ones that you don't think we should make art with about configuration 1. And then Tanith is going to get to either remove a further 2 or save 2 of the ones that are being removed. Tim, do you want to come and have a look at it?
Okay, I think I can see it from here. So we have 3 of these I'm getting rid of, right?
Yeah, getting rid of.
So those, I think, okay, podcast, radio outfits, over, coordinate outfits, set. I think out of the ones I'd get rid of, I would go with. I think I would get rid of the sculpture garden.
Okay.
I would get rid of the Freudian therapy session.
Yeah.
And I would also get rid of. I would get rid of the musical ensemble.
The musical ensemble. Tanith, now, as the expert on this configuration, you can either say, actually, well, you can either save 2 of those, or you can save 1 of those, or you could remove a further 2. What do you want to do? Can you see them?
Yeah, I completely agree with Tim.
So you can remove a further 2?
Yeah. So I'm going to remove the other therapy session
Yeah.
and choreography.
Okay. So, here we go. Okay, let's see how this goes. Let me just stop. I'll carry on my slideshow. Now, could Handy, you know there's those clipboards. Could you hand them out to the group, guys? Fellow theatre makers and members of the Process Words, we are now. You're now gonna choose a medium, and you're gonna have 3 to 4 minutes to start putting together an idea for an outcome for this medium, for the configuration 1 in this medium. And this can take any form you fancy. It could be a proposal, it could be some random jottings, it could be a drawing, it could be a piece of writing. At the end of the 3 minutes, everyone will report back what their idea is, okay? So, and the mediums you have to choose from are a bonding trip or guided tour with the Orphans of Water or Pangaea or whatever, a podcast, a play date or sleepover, submitting an academic paper to Paleois, the Journal of the Society of Sedimentary Geology, a coordinated outfit, some plumbing, or a 4-piece set of something. Does that make sense?
Do you have any pens?
Oh, I haven't got any pens.
Oh no!
I've got 1 pen.
I've got 1 pen.
I got a pen.
I've got pens. I think we'll do it. I think we'll be able to do it.
Shall I go get my pens upstairs?
No, it's okay. I'm going to ask them upstairs.
Can I run to the toilet?
Yeah. Toilet votes. Oh, Pip comes through. Summarise what the outcome you come up with is, and then something is going to be done with that outcome very shortly, okay? This is not the end of this little element of the process. It's going to be noted down by our minutes keeper, Jim, over here. Everybody say hi, Jim. Okay, so should we start with the panel? What kind of ideas have we got over here?
Okay, so the idea that we had, it started with Beth was talking about the plumbing competition, the plumbing Olympics. And then we came up with this, so it's like tree roots of pipes, and they're transparent, and there's LED lights within the pipes, so a bit like those YouTube videos where you're watching someone's going down a water slide. And it actually turns out the Orphans of Water are at plumbing college doing the BTEC in plumbing. They then go straight into working for this company where they're making the tree root pipes, decide to start streaming videos, putting cameras through the pipes. That then funds them building more pipes, and it's a circular system of making more pipes for the people.
Beautiful. And then was that was a group one? That was a group one. So Harry, on to you.
I've just designed a 4-piece set of kitchen utensils.
Could you lift them up for the group?
They all shaped like different oxbow lakes.
Wow, so like spoons and forks and
yeah,
stuff.
so you've got a spoon, reusable straw, salt and pepper shaker, and then, I don't know, I said dildo, but it's not that.
That's so good.
Sorry.
Okay, Huz, what are you thinking?
I just wrote sleepover. I was just thinking of if we stayed over at Rogue Studios, you know. I thought it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. Group sleepover, Rogue Studios, Orphans of Water themed. Everybody. Nico, can we pass to you?
Yeah, we had a
Joint idea. Joint idea, beautiful.
we had a repurposed septic tank with hamster tanks feeding into it.
We had a joint idea that kind of separated us. So
Like the theme of separation.
Yeah.
And it's deconstructed into 4 parts. We have willingness going in with 1 hamster tunnel into the septic tank, utility in the middle, and it also had the what are those fish called?
The fish that eat the dead skin on the feet.
Pilot? No. Are pilot fish those ones?
Piranhas.
They eat dead skin.
Like that was
They make it dead.
And then instinct coming out, and then thanks being evaporated out like a funnel of top.
Wow, that sounds great.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So yeah, mine was very similar, but with the less animal part of it. There's those individual parts of the septic tank, but they're separated. So you've got an intake pipe for willingness on the floor somewhere, then a ventilation pipe for tanks on the floor somewhere, the tank itself on the floor somewhere, and then instinct coming out on the floor somewhere.
That's brilliant.
Nico got very zoo themed.
I was suspended in a pond.
Oh my god, I want to see pictures of these. Okay, brilliant, that's so great. Stan, do you want to go?
Yeah, so I've got, so it's a podcast where I don't know how many continents are there, maybe 4 or 5, but each of the continents is on the Joe Rogan podcast. They're being interviewed, it's kind of a vibe check, but then some way through they find out that they used to be Pangaea, so they get them all on the podcast and they have to debate whether they're going to attempt reunification, and there's a big kind of fallout, there's lots of issues.
Wow, okay, amazing.
I chose coordinated outfit, and it's a durational performance in which a coordinated outfit disintegrates or unravels at a pace relative to the separation of Pangaea.
These are so good. Oh my god, amazing. Declan.
Mine is a podcast that is the result of a bonding trip / guided tour, which is undertaken and then reflected on as a podcast afterwards. As part of this, you will link up with a geologist who will join you on the outing, maybe someone from the Journal of the Society of Sedimentary Geology. You're going to get deep sea to draw up some prompts for the geologist. No recording or phones are allowed on the bonding trip. And then the podcast can be no longer than 30 minutes.
So that's actually, we can all do that. That's a doable one. Q, do you want to go?
Okay. So my one is a bonding trip to a kids like soft play area where they have to face their own imminent dissolve. And they drink themselves silly because the whole thing is funded by their boss, the ocean, and every time they go down the really long bumpy slide in the soft play area, they kind of lose water and lose parts of themselves.
Wow.
And yeah.
Awesome, amazing. Bryn?
I've got a themed sleepover where they dress up around the ideas of Pangaea. The dads are drinking in the living room. the little organ, the plain truth, were there with that folded piece of paper shape thing. But it's also like soundtrack to like a 2000s pop video, and you can't tell if it's real or it's a music video.
Wait, what? You can't tell what?
You can't tell if you're either living this or it's a music video that ends in 4 minutes.
Wow! Oh my god, that's awesome. Felix, did you get anything?
No, it's just a study of effects.
Oh, okay, everybody, this is Felix's study of effects. Hannah?
EMDR therapy for the orphans.
What's the EMDR therapy?
It's like in quite a fairly recent form of therapy. It like began for like the military, and it's a way of like using eye movement desensitization. So you're using bilateral stimulation, and you're making someone look at corners of the room, and then they'll imagine like the trauma they've been through, but they keep it at the back of their mind, and using the eye movement, they'll desensitize the body's like fight or flight response to the traumatic memory. So
the traumatic memory of separation.
Of separation from Pangaea,
Yeah.
but also it used to be part of the river, and then now it's all alone, and it used to work.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So I was just wondering if that company did a chair. Okay. Cool. Sorry. Pip, have you got something for us?
I was thinking about like the future of plumbing, because like if the children of water are a bit like hung up on their like watery kind of past, like they could explore like the process of plumbing and like, you know, where that in the future can go, and like whether it could be like a meditative practice or like if there's ways of like electrifying water so it like works better or something like that.
Wow.
Or even in the future, maybe if there's no water, then can we just like only use electricity instead of water and just like wash our hands with like static shock and things like that. You know?
Super.
Yeah.
How did that go, Jim?
It was really, really difficult. We all just tried to be a little bit calmer, a little bit slower. Almost, great ideas.
Great ideas, everyone. Woo! Okay. So, Jim's going to fire those answers to me while I explain the next stage of this process. This stage is called the Clinamen. Okay? It's called the Clinamen. Okay? So, to introduce how this is going to work, the ancient Greek atomists believed that every atom held within itself the potential to slightly deviate or waver from its characteristic trajectory. So this potential, because all of the atomists before that just thought atoms were just like a rain, but then it was like, how does anything happen? Because they're just rods going from one side of the universe to another, and they never can connect and form configurations and stuff. So this potential for this slight deviation, this Clinamen, opened the door for chaos and change, and the possibility that atoms could collide in unexpected ways and new combinations can emerge. Does anybody want to read this out? Q, do you want to read this out to us?
I'll do it.
Yeah, go on, yes.
When atoms move straight down through the void by their own weight, they defectively in space at a quite uncertain time in certain places. Just enough that you could say that their motions has changed. But they were not in the habit of swerving. They would all fall straight down through the depths of the void, like drops of rain, and no collision would occur, nor would any bubble be produced among the atoms. In that case, nature would never produce anything. This swerving, according to Lucretius, provides a free will, which living things would throughout the world have.
Thank you. What's your name?
It's Ryan.
Ryan. And what's your name?
Nicholas.
Nicholas, I know that. Hi guys, thank you. Right, round of applause for Ryan. That's sweet. Awesome. So, we are now, so you've got to imagine these ideas that we've had are atoms falling through the universe, not swerving. We have got to introduce the swerve, okay? The thing that changes halfway through and brings chaos into our ideas, the change of paths, okay? So, you're going to get into pairs with someone that you didn't come with. And together, you're going to choose one of the outcomes, which is soon going to be on the board when Jim has sent the email to me. We're going to see what those notes look like. I know, bless Jim. And then you're going to have a few minutes in your pair to come up with a Clinamen which could take place within the outcome you've been given. So an unpredictable moment, a swerve, a counter movement or contradiction opened up within the outcome to give it a bit of a plottiness kind of thing. Jim, how are we doing?
Yeah, right.
You said it? Yeah. Wow. Oh yes, I could see. Okay.
Are you joking?
Wait, is that this one?
You copied and pasted.
No, it must be new. That's an old email.
Ah, ha ha ha. Wow, wow. Okay, brilliant. Cool. Amazing work. So, what should I do? How are we doing reading this, guys? What do you think the best approach is?
For what?
So everybody can read. Shall I just like scroll up and down them? Just like I'll just float up and down them as we go. Okay, could you form pairs with someone you didn't come with? You guys stay in your simple. Now, should we start from? Do you guys want to go?
I'll start and you guys go.
So first, tell us what outcome you were responding to, and then what your little kind of
Can we
swaz.
respond to one or a few?
It depends how quickly you can say them. Yeah, what's your best one?
Quick.
So,
I don't know if it was written up, but I had the idea of the like a tradesman's slumber party when they all like sleep together and stuff.
Wow.
Sleep together. They sleep over me. They could sleep together, but that's up to them.
Okay.
I think we had a few ideas of like they were all like, well, their plane was delayed or something, and then one of them volunteered that they could all crash at like one of the plumber's houses.
The orphans are wow. Oh my god.
And then another one, and I don't know, then it's just like a slumber party. And one of them like was a set.
He dreams about his girlfriend in the night, and he like caresses the shoulder of his
One of the brothers.
Yeah. And they kind of form a bond and solidarity. And like we were saying, he has visions are like looking through tunnels of plumbing and things like that.
Yeah.
Wow, that's a good climate. So on the slumber party, there is one of the orphans' dreams. Yeah. Okay, great, super. So did you guys have something?
Yeah. I was getting a drink, but the idea was the Joe Rogan podcast, and initially it's quite tense when they realise they were all Pangaea, but then it actually becomes quite sweet, and they reform as a supercontinent.
How? What does the reformation look like?
We go back to Pangaea.
Okay.
But Joe Rogan, because Joe Rogan thinks that he kind of started this, he thinks that he kind of should be like king of this new land. So kind of a war starts between Joe Rogan fans and the dinosaurs come back because they lived on Pangaea. So it's like dinosaurs versus Joe Rogan fans.
Wow. Okay. Awesome. Should we go around? You guys, have you got anything over there at the back?
Yes.
Go on.
We went through the sleepover, and 4 people on sleepover. So one was schizophrenia, one was bipolar, one was and one was deaf, and they were all sleepover together. And then something happened on the sleepover, which gave them different abilities. So, for example, one was no longer homebound, one could see but was no longer deaf, and one got more personality, one was schizophrenia, and it was just a lot of things going on. So, that's what we went down.
That's beautiful. That'd be a lovely Clinamen. Were you working in that group? Okay.
Yeah, go on.
Do you want to feedback?
Well, it was like the Pangaea sleepover, like everyone in that outfit dressed as Pangaea. But I was thinking about there's a theory that
I need a reference point. Give me a reference point.
But in 20 million like years time.
Oh yeah,
right.
No, of course. No, we do agree on that.
But there's a theory that in 20 million years time, Pangaea comes back and will conform to the Pangaea Ultimate.
Pangaea Ultimate.
Yeah.
So wait, that's actually a theory that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, no, I mean, it generally will. It will. Well, I mean, if you're talking about geological process, it's gonna happen. It's not an if, it's just when.
Wow. That's exciting.
Well, it is, isn't it? It's just the Earth's gonna recycle the Earth's crust. It's gonna, the mantle is gonna dissolve into itself, and then it's gonna reburst.
Sick.
Like this, So by the end of the sleepover, everyone's outfits like connecting.
Wow!
All standing on top of each other.
What? That rules. Okay, cool. Stan and Hannah?
So we did Hannah's because it was too quick to be written down. So that was the one where there was the costume of Pangaea and it was like separating. over the time period that it took Pangaea to kind of separate. So we decided the twist there would be the costume just separate. So it's just a video for thousands and thousands of years. So we had other twists to be fair, but that's probably the most shocking. I mean, think of the shock.
Yeah. Declan, did you have one?
Oh no, I was part of this.
What did you guys get up to?
So we took the plumbing school one, and we thought that like maybe like during the time that they were at plumbing school, like the technology for plumbing would have advanced, and the orphans would not be able to catch up to the AI plumbing and computer toilets that were being invented and put into real life.
Wait, what was the thing about urbexing?
But then because sorry.
Wait, did they all become unemployed and they turned to urbex streaming?
They become like they start exploring the tunnels and become urbex streamers.
What's urbex? Urban exploration. Yeah. Cool. Instead of plumbing, like as a development. Because they become made redundant by the AI toilets?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Did you guys on this end of the table have anything where you were working on that?
We were also, yeah.
Sweet. Okay, okay. First round of outcomes was eventful. That was so amazing. That was awesome, guys. Thanks for going for that in the way you guys like that. Yeah, beautiful ideas. I love formation and separation is a really beautiful theme. Actually, it turns out it's quite nice exploring it through like geology and stuff. Okay, we're gonna plow through. We'll have a break. We'll have a break soon. How are we doing? How are people doing? Are you up for moving straight onto the next section? Okay, cool.
Can I just interject?
Yeah, no, it's okay. Yeah.
No, listen, Brian, sure. Not often walk past this place, many times. Just never knew what it's about.
I don't think this is what it's about, to be honest. We've just booked it for a night. Yeah, we're not affiliated.
Not concert. Oh my god.
No, that would be cool.
Sure.
Okay, sweet. So, the next section, configuration 2, piecemeal. Okay, here we go. This one we need a lot of help. we need everybody, the group mind, to come together heavily. Okay, so what is piecemeal? Repeat the question. What is piecemeal? What is piecemeal? What is piecemeal? Inject a sense of urgency. We need to realise what is piecemeal. What is piecemeal? What is piecemeal? We don't have anything on piecemeal. We need to materialise. We need piecemeal to exist right now for us. It's just the word, the piecemeal. We've got to conjure ex nihilo. The ex nihilo means out of nothing. I remember in RS it said the universe was God made the universe ex nihilo. We're making piecemeal ex nihilo in the room, hopefully. Piecemeal. What is? Beth. What is piecemeal? When you hear the word, what do you think?
Well, I feel like I'm influenced by the pipe that was on the screen. Piecemeal is the floating object. Piecemeal is when you find an object in the antiques shop and you go to ask what its function is, and the lady there says that they don't sell it here. That's not one of the things.
Wow, that's beautiful. Okay, great. Does anybody else want to have a go at answering? What is piecemeal?
So for me, the part of the word which I pick up on is meal. Meal is something which feeds anything in your body. So whether that be the mind, the body, or the soul. Feeding your soul brings you up through chakras or anything going on. Mind is something which helps you flourish in any thought or experience. And then body helps you grow in any aspect. So
I love the meal. A meal is something for any part of your body. Beautiful. And the piecemeal could be a meal that you don't know. Yes.
Can it piecemeal? Does it come from French or something, or what does it mean like?
What do you think?